Now, to get into the subject, a hot contested issue that it is, we're joined by Josh Hasten, international spokesperson for the Gush Etzion settlement bloc in the southern West Bank. Thanks for being with us, Josh. And joining us now as well, Professor Yossi Yona. He's a former Israeli parliament member of the Labor Party in studio. Thank you both for joining. Look, this is arguably the most contested hot button issue for the entire, Israeli modern situation today. Looking at what's going on, first of all, in Al-Ahmar today, we're going to go down there to our correspondent, get some more. But I mean, we're talking about a couple hundred Bedouin who are living, off the grid. They've been requesting to be on the grid for some period of time. This is a complex issue for how they live. But is it now? And I'm coming to you, Yossi, first in the studio. Looks to be the big political football, from the pro-Palestinian to the Israeli right sides of the spectrum. Is it emblematic right now of a wider conflict? What's happening out there?
Well, look, I mean, the development, it is as it is, or if you wish, the political situation is as it is, meaning that the extreme right wing or even the right wing would like to further or to move on, to push on its annexation, how to put it, policy vis-a-vis the West Bank, and there is a resistance to it, a natural resistance to it. And now the interesting issue is that now the current government in a kind of quagmire, vis-a-vis this issue, mounting international objections and dismay vis-a-vis this policy, because the international community sees it as any action taken in the West Bank in terms of annexing it to the state of Israel would undermine the possibility of a peaceful solution to the enduring conflict between Israel and Palestine.
Josh, I want to bring you into this. I mean, we're talking about, when we're looking at Al-Ahmar, I mean, I'd argue it's not what we see playing out in the larger West Bank. I mean, it seems to be there are outside players trying to make this, one of these arenas a battle. But why are we seeing right now the political right in Israel drawing the line, at this small Bedouin town?
Well, I actually just came right now from Al-Ahmar. I was just there with MKs Edelstein and Danny Danon. What you have here is a group of people who are essentially being used as pawns by the Palestinian Authority. It's all part of their wider scheme to completely take over Area C. And by the way, this is actually being funded by the European Union. What we learned today is that in 2022, just last year, over 5,000 illegal structures were set up by the PA. So, these people are really pawns. And I actually heard from one of the locals from a nearby community, an olive farmer, a Jewish olive farmer, who said, look, the government has come up with a solution for these individuals. They can be moved legally into communities with infrastructure already in place near Abu Dis, but the PA is holding them there hostage. They want to create an international scandal in the area. They want to paint Israel in a bad light, and it's actually endangering the residents of Al-Ahmar. You know how close it is to Highway 1, which is the main artery from Jerusalem to the Dead Sea. You have kids who are crossing over a busy highway. So the local residents there want a better solution for these people there who are, like I said,
situation there is
have been caught in the middle there.
Situation there is untenable for these people living there. You mentioned the children crossing the street, no access to basic utilities. The list goes on. It's fairly horrendous. But you'll see, why are we seeing it come back now into importance for the Likud party? I mean, is it political football for both sides right now?
Look, I actually anticipated that is going to happen, because people saying, well, we have now a fully or entirely right-wing government. And I said, no, it is not going to be that easy. Because the goal of the extreme right wing, and now talking about Smotrich, talking about Ben Gvir, the goal is to embarrass Likud's party, Netanyahu
leadership.
Yeah, saying, well, leadership, exactly, saying, okay, we are the rightfully right-wing party, and they're probably looking ahead, saying that, if they can actually instill this impression in the Israeli public that they are the true right-wing party, or the true right party, the right in Israel, and maybe they would gain even more force and more popularity, more support in the upcoming elections. So this is the kind of conflict, the inner conflict, that actually endangering.
I think we're likely to see this issue.
It's endangering the stability of this government, and I saw it coming.
To push it further, you'll see. I mean, let's talk somewhat constructively. I mean, there's major divides here over this issue of what to do with Israeli settlements. From right to left, it involves religion. It's such a hot button issue here. But talking constructively right now, on the left side of the spectrum, what's left in that political arsenal in terms of reaching an understanding, reaching a resolution to the conflict going on? Is it about unilateral withdrawal? Where does it go from here in policies?
I'll tell you something, like people talking, well, would the Palestinian would agree to some kind of settlement, which is a good question, and I'm not kind of trying to push it away from the table. But the real question for me as Israeli, as a patriot Israeli, is like what I want, out of this situation. I don't want a binational state. I don't want an apartheid state. I want to secure my state, and I want to increase the legitimacy of the state internationally. And I think, so this is the first thing that we've got to ask ourselves, what we want. And I, according to my way of thinking, my view, vis-a-vis this issue, that we don't want to annex the West Bank because I think that it would undermine not just the legitimacy, it would undermine the stability of itself.
Josh, chime in here. Where does this go in terms of with this government in place now, the internal clashes that we're bound to see happen around the issue? Where does it go with the settlement enterprise with the Palestinians?
Well, first of all, let's note that Khan Al-Ahmar, the Israeli Supreme Court, has ruled that Khan Al-Ahmar must be dismantled, and it's now waiting for the February 1st deadline for the government to respond to it. But on the opposite end of the spectrum, compared to what your guest said, listen, I don't think it's time for us to appease the international community. The European Union is very much involved financially in building these illegal structures throughout Area C. They are trying to undermine the state of Israel by putting up these illegal encampments. And let's remember, it's not just Khan Al-Ahmar. Again, as I said before, over 5,000 illegal buildings. I completely believe that Israel must apply sovereignty as soon as possible. It's something that was discussed under the previous Netanyahu government. And now we are in a position where we have a true right-wing government as elected by the people back in November. And it's time, once and for all, that we who live in Judea and Samaria don't feel like second-class citizens. We feel a part of this country, and sovereignty should be applied, regardless of what the international community said. Yuli Edelstein today said when the Americans moved the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, there's a lot of fear-mongering going on that this would be World War III. And what we see now, several years later, is that did not take place in any way, shape, or form.
Josh,
this
Hasten,
is the Middle East where strength.
I know we can carry on with this for much longer. I appreciate you giving our viewers at least a preview of this issue. We're out of time on it today.
Pleasure.
We'll keep discussing this in future editions. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back after a short break here at Zoom.